you wouldn't go to a heart surgeon to give you a filling. You'd want to go to a dentist for that because that's what they specialise in. So that specialised sort of advice and knowledge is key.
Wealth HQ, empowering you to take charge of your financial life.
Hadley Nightingale is back. He's a founder of New Zealand Property Buyers, an agency with buyers in mind. The company was founded on the basis that there's a severe lack of representation in the real estate market for the buyer. Every week, Hadley sees people who have limited experience of the process going up against career professionals who know how to get the best for their vendors. Hadley, navigating the market can be daunting. But why should someone pay you $20,000 to look for property when they could try to do that themselves?
Thanks for having me back, Blandon, and asking the tough questions straight off the bat. But it's a really good question. But I think your intro sort of capped it quite nicely, that vendors go and get selling agents to represent them. You never talk to the vendor when you're going out to negotiate on a property. And I think the negotiation part is the key bit. It's the same as like business negotiations. People always do better when they've got someone else to represent them. They haven't got the same emotional ties to it. One of the things that we quite regularly do as selling agents do for, if you go and ring up about a property and you say, oh, look, this is what I think it's worth, and they go, I don't know what my vendor's going to say. They 100% know what the vendor's going to say. They know what the vendor's expectations are. But there's just that person in the middle to break the chain. Because when you go there yourself and you put on the beat, they go, look, this is what the vendors come back at. And you go, I'm going to have to go and ask my wife maybe, or my cat, or someone else. You've got
AI.
AI. You've got no one there that you can use as leverage to be like, well, I'm going to have to ask them. I'm not sure how they're going to take it, because you're not in the position and in the middle there for leverage. And like I say, it's the same with like buying businesses. You get a lawyer or someone else to represent you in the negotiations. You don't want to be there making knee-jerk decisions where you can go and just break the pace of it, rather than, hey, look, the vendor needs an answer tonight, and you're going, well, this is the second time I've done this. So if the vendor needs the answer, that's what I need to do, as opposed to going, well, hang on a second, let's go back and talk to the clients. Let's see what they want to do. Let's have a chat around things. So people easily get paid. People easily pay more than 20 grand too much for a property. It's not hard to do that. It's not hard to make a mistake when you've got no experience. But I think the other thing is like our repeat clients are super high net worth people. One of them this year, they bought 3 properties through us, and he said to us the other week, look, I want to buy one more by the end of the year, and then I want to buy another at least 4 or 5 through you guys next year. And then in that same email says, send us your final invoice, send us the invoice for the next one because I want to get started tomorrow. And this is as soon as the property's gone unconditional, before we've even had the chance to run the back-end admin to send the guy the invoice. So I mean, I think if it's good enough for these guys that extremely wealthy people that haven't got the time, that they know their stuff. One guy in particular is a head of a commercial real estate company, and so he knows the real estate market. But he's like, you guys go and do that because that's what you specialize in. And I suppose it's the same as anything. You can go and do anything yourself. You can go represent yourself in court, but you're not going to do as well as what a lawyer's going to do for you, or at least you hope not anyway.
So am I one of those repeat clients?
You're one of those repeat clients.
Oh, yes. I'm in that category. In your experience, what are some of the most common challenges that investors face when they're buying these properties alone? And how do you think you can help them?
I think a lot of people don't know the process, or they get their information off an aunt, an uncle, a parent who's potentially only bought one property in their life, or their own owner-occupied property, 10, 15, 20 years ago. They get heavily influenced by those people as well. Or we've had it where we've had extremely good deals that are there for people, and they've got, I just spoke to my friend who used to live in that place 10 years ago, and they didn't like it, so therefore I don't like it either. Be like, well, the place has changed, it's gentrified, there's stuff that's probably happened since your friend lived there. How many properties does your friend have? oh, they've got none, they rent. And you go, well, who are you taking your advice from? People that know what they're doing, or people that, they've got your best interest at heart, but they don't necessarily spend, day in, day out going to those places. I suppose it's a bit like, you wouldn't go to a heart surgeon to give you a filling. You'd want to go to a dentist for that because that's what they specialise in. So that specialised sort of advice and knowledge is key there.
So walk me through the process. There are a lot of things going there's a lot of things going on in the buyer's mind.
Yeah.
How do you make sure that they can make an informed decision?
So one of the key things for it is sitting down with them at the start, figuring out, and I sound like a broken record when I say this all the time, is that figuring out where they are at the moment, what they're looking to achieve, and then strategically setting up our next approach to the next property that we're going to buy. And then from that, we look at it from a data perspective in terms of what are the suburbs doing in that area. Because I think there's been a whole lot of stuff that's accessible to the average person out there. Like at the moment, there's some stuff going around that like Wanganui is expensive or Gisborne's overpriced, and by 20% you shouldn't have bought there. But we've bought property in both of those locations that we've had them revalued. And while that's happened, the specific suburb has actually grown, as opposed to looking at the area as a whole. So it's important to be able to look at suburb data, what's happening with the median, and it depends strategically what we're looking to do as well. Like, are we looking to buy something that we can subdivide or add something else on, or a bigger block? And then we need to look at things like a square metre rate, or what's the land to purchase price ratio? Does it come over 60%? Because if it doesn't, then we're paying too much for a house rather than, we're paying too much for the land. So therefore, it's about having a look at those key statistical metrics to figure out what we want to do, and then working backwards from there. I mean, there's still an element of emotion, especially if it's people's first time. But we just always need to back everything up with facts and just be like, right, here's what we said we're going to do. This is what we've set out to do. Here's the data that backs up, what we've said. And then ultimately, I mean, it's the client's money or the person's money that they're spending, so they get the final choice there. But it's really important just to build that statistical and data picture for them to say, this is what stuff looks like. Here's the comparables. Here's what we should be paying for it. If we go over that, we're going to walk away because we don't want to pay too much. So I suppose that's sort of the overview of the process. Then also too, walking through that due diligence with the negotiation side of things, like we spoke about earlier, that we take care of all of that for them too, so that we can use them as a bit of leverage as well, and we can just slow that pace of the negotiation down. And then once we've got a property under contract, we also look after all the due diligence side of things for them as well and run through that. And then we've also got a project manager that can project manage any renovations that we're going to do. And then we've got a property management company on the back end as well. So we do everything for our clients from start to finish, right the way through. And for some, it's a slow hand-holding exercise. For others, it's a case of they haven't got the time to, because I think that's the other thing that people underestimate, is they end up spending all their nights and weekends. Like, we've got a full-time person that just goes through and looks at listings. That's all they do. And if you might be able to focus on one town and do it well, but to be over everything is a nightmare unless you've got the time to do it. And then you've got to weigh up the cost too of like, what is the time away from your family cost, your social events, the other things that you're looking to do, all have some sort of prices associated with them. And then you've got to sort of consider everything into the pile at the start.
So you get paid when you finish the transaction. The client goes unconditional. You have a conflict of interest, because if you get something under contract for somebody and you found out there's something wrong with it, but you're like, oh, well, I've already done the work. How do you manage this?
Easily. I tell them not to buy it. Because at the end of the day, your reputation's super easy to tear down. It takes a long time to build up. And so I think the other thing with me is like, you may see it as a conflict. But the problem is that, we project manage it as well. And then potentially, or the chances are very high that we're going to property manage it at the back end. So we want a long-term relationship with all our clients. And if we were just jumping off the boat at unconditional and go, oh, sorry, you've got some problems, or we'll see you later on, good luck, then potentially that could be perceived. But if we've got to fix the problem and keep the relationship in the project management stage, and then keep the relationship and keep the client happy on the property management stage, you want to make sure that what you're buying is spot on and it's good for them. Because the other thing is too, is if we buy well, they have no issues. They're going to come back to us and say, much like the guy that I mentioned, that's high net worth. We bought really well for him. He's really happy and says, look, just send me the invoice. Let's get this done. So those people are a whole lot better to work with than trying to find brand new people every week, build that trust, build that relationship. And so to have it ongoing is beneficial for everyone.
So you actually have a property management arm.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, would you be willing to do the first 12-month guaranteed rent?
12-month guaranteed rent.
Yeah, I'm giving you a new product here.
Yeah, give me a new product. We haven't got that at the moment. There's obviously a bit of scale that comes into that as well. What I'm sort of most focused and drive on that is, it comes back to the data side of things again, is making sure that we can get the rents that we say we can. Because once again, it comes back to the whole thing of if you tell someone they can get $600 a week rent and we're the ones managing it, then we want to make sure that we can actually achieve that. For example, there's some places that the place that I rent at the moment, we rent it for $150 a week less than what the developer told the owner that they would get for it. But if the developer was the property manager, they'd have a pretty hard time trying to swallow that in terms of, hey, look, we got that really wrong. You're going to have to drop it $150 a week, as opposed to, we always try and under promise and over deliver it from the perspective that, we'll tell you can get $550 a week, but we've got you $600 a week. Because it's always easy to go up than what it is to go, well, actually, you can get $700 a week for it, but actually it's at $600. And then you've got a whole lot of explaining to do.
Hadley, if you were to look at the overall purchases that you do, how much of it is actually off market and how much is just a listing off the website?
Good question. Probably. So what happens with most of our stuff is we know about a chunk of it before it goes to market. So people seem to be really fixated on off-market deal. But some of the issues that we have with off-market is that there's been no exposure to the market. So the vendors have got their price expectation of, hey, look, I think this place is worth $1 million. But in reality, if it went to the market, they get $850 for it. So there's part of it that, and also people have got to be aware of as well, is that just because someone rings you up with an off-market doesn't mean it's a good deal. It doesn't mean that the vendor's unrealistic. We had just had a phone call the other day from a person saying, oh, look, I really only want to get an off-market deal, and I really want to make sure that it's like, there's been like divorce or something's happened. And I was like, look, if that's all you're after, then we're not the people for you. I think you probably need to go and talk to someone else. Because the problem with that is we're negotiating 2 divorces at the moment. One person in the divorce is just like, just get rid of it. I couldn't care what it sells for. Get rid of it. The other person on the other side of it is has put a figure on it that's like $100,000 more than us. And then it's taken another week and a half. And this is on the market. This isn't off market. And exactly the same thing. It seems to be 2 guys at the moment with these 2 properties that we've been negotiating for the last 3 weeks, where the guys think that the property's worth $100,000 more than what it is in reality. But the same thing happens with off market. If there's not the and sure, sometimes it happens where people don't know what they've got, they sell it, and you get some occasional good deals that way. But the key thing is, I think it's more important to figure out, am I buying it under market value? Is it a good deal? Rather than the direct source of where's this coming from? Because that's that's the most important thing, is the money that you're going to make, the yield that you're going to get, and the equity over time, because you won't think about it in 5 years' time. You won't go, oh, damn, I'm really disappointed I bought this place. I've made a couple $100,000 out of it. The rental yield's really good, but I'm really disappointed that I bought it on the market.
So one of the things I've observed with newer investors, or even people who are not actively looking for properties, even if they see the same deal as you, they're not seeing a deal.
No.
So what is it that you do to make sure you have a really strong understanding of the different regions that you're working with?
Yeah, no, good question. And I think that's that's the other thing as well. Probably just to flip that back the other way, we also have clients that come to us that say, hey, look, I've seen this property. There was one in Hastings a little while ago that was up for a prolonged period of time. It finally sold, but I had 2 or 3 clients come to me and say, oh, what do you think about this place? So we've already done the investigation on it. It needs $300,000 worth of reno. 850 looks like a good number, but can you carry the 300,000 for 6 months? Probably not. It looks great though, but we've seen it. We know about it. And so in terms of, I think, experience comes down to this. We've been sort of doing this for 7 years now, so you get that, like that. But intuition's not the right word, but when you look at something and you've run enough deals that you know how things are going to work, we've got a really good idea of how things are going to work. Then that's an advantage. The data that we've got, the relationships that we've got, and because we're in the market every day, we've got an idea of how things fluctuate, as opposed to someone that just decides on a Saturday morning, I might have a look on Trade Me, and then they don't look for another 2 or 3 weeks and go, I might have another look on Trade Me again. They've got, or I've got a mate who's an agent in that particular area. They don't necessarily have the understanding and the breadth of knowledge that they need to have to make really good informed decisions.
Hadley, what makes an exceptional buyer's agent?
An exceptional buyer's agent, I think really good negotiation skills. Someone that understands the market, has some property themselves and is actually actively doing stuff. Because it's, like I say, you can sit there and you can spruik property and go, oh, look, I've got this place, or I've seen this place, and go and charge me a buying fee for that. But I think you need to have experience, skin in the game yourself, and actually know what you're talking about, have some runs on the board, or work under someone that's got those skills, knowledge, and experience to be able to go and execute on those. But then the other thing too is like is be about long-term relationships. And I think it's with anything that we do. You're always better to have long-term relationships with people that are ongoing and lasting than what you are to try and find a new client, a new property manager, a new whatever it is every 6 months. You're better to have long-term relationships that are stable, the trust gets built up, you know what you're doing, the other person trusts you, you trust them. If they tell you they're going to do something, they do it. So I think probably a combination of those things is what sort of squares it up nicely.
If you found value in today's episode, remember to smash that like button. And if you want to learn more about finance and property tips, then hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys again.
Wealth HQ, empowering you to take charge of your financial life.